Hi, welcome back to Your Checkup. We are the patient-facing medical podcast where we bring health topics from the doctor's office to your ears. On this podcast, we try to bring medicine closer to its patients. I'm at Delesky, a family medicine resident in the Philadelphia area.
And I'm Nicole Aruffo. I'm a nurse.
And recently not spoken for is our intern, Oliver.
Where is he? He's behind me.
Yeah. So,
Ollie,
we wanted to start
what are you doing?
our
it's
segment
time to work.
today with the idea that it's a hot take. We'll try to include a hot take.
We have a new weekly segment called, well, we need a clever name, but it's going to be a hot take of the week. And this came to us when we were out on a little date on Friday. Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell them what our hot take is?
Well, I think, there may be two.
No, the main one.
Crab and lobster?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The main one is that crab is so much better than lobster.
Yeah.
Come at us. I think lobster is so hyped up and it's so overblown, over the top, this rare thing that's supposed to taste better than anything else.
Crab is so much better.
No, crab cavatelli.
Specifically crab crab cavatelli
is absolutely delicious. So come at me. And also, this may sound pretentious, swordfish isn't for me.
Yeah, you're more of a branzino guy.
I'm more of a branzino guy.
I liked the swordfish.
I guess I didn't know what I was walking into.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that you loved the sea bass that I caught.
I did. That was so good.
A white flaky fish that can be used in any form and take the shape of any seasoning you have. It's a rainy day here, so you may hear some thunder in the background, or because our mics are so good, you may not.
Ooh, those high quality mics.
There we go. So we're recording here, and we're coming up on a major holiday. What holiday are we coming up on, Nick?
We're coming up on the 4th of July.
You're a grand old
Jesus.
flag. You're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave.
We've just lost all 12 of our subscribers.
Over the land I love.
Now their ears are bleeding.
The home of the free and the brave. All right, so 4th of July is fun and all.
Makes me want a hot dog real bad.
Yeah, real bad. Want a hot dog. God
Do you know
knows
what that's from?
what's in them. Joey Chestnut can no longer participate in the hot dog.
You didn't get my line.
What did you say?
It's from Legally Blonde too. When Jennifer Coolidge is like, "You look like the 4th of July," makes me want a hot dog real bad. But it didn't land, so
sorry. She's
that's
the one.
cool.
She's the blonde one who's also now more recently in
White Lotus.
White Lotus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she has big lips. So it makes 4th of July brings on feelings of like fires, hot dogs. Joey Chestnut, God bless him, he can't compete in the hot dog eating competition anymore.
Why?
He took a sponsorship deal from a different hot dog company, and so he can't compete in Nathan's hot dog eating competition. I mean, maybe like Sabret got to him or something. I don't know.
Oh my God.
But it also makes
We're
me
doing
think
the
of
wrong thing in life.
all of the, what was that?
Said we're doing the wrong thing in life.
What, the hot dog eating?
That guy probably makes more money than both of us combined.
Oh, no, certainly. He's famous. So, but something else that comes up on 4th of July are fireworks. Yeah, fireworks are a big thing. People love them. Big spectacle in the air, big ball of fire, and bright lights in the sky. Did you guys grow up with fireworks, doing them, watching them?
Yeah, everyone does.
Okay, fair.
We're in America.
Sure.
Come on.
It's one of the single most
One
patriotic
year,
things you can do.
I don't know if it was on 4th of July or just, a random Tuesday in the summer. Chris came over with a stick of dynamite and blew up a bucket in the backyard.
There we go. Yeah, this is a great reason to talk about this on this episode. Very topical, very timely. We had neighbors. They've since moved out in Jackson, but they would do like front yard fireworks and seemingly always end up in the pool the next morning. And my parents would love that every single time. But there was also a lot of trees around, so it always left for a little concern, but usually ended up being okay. When I think of fireworks, I think of a couple different things. I think of one of my favorite New York Giants, Jason Pierre-Paul, who blew off his finger with a firework. And it kind of
Hate when that happens.
leads into that the Consumer Product Safety Commission says that this date is kind of old, but in 2023, that 9,700 injuries were from fireworks in 2023.
That's a lot.
Have you known anyone?
Not personally, no.
Yeah, me neither. Luckily, but most commonly they happen, especially the burns, which is going to be another core piece of what we talk about on today's episode. Mostly burns to the hands and fingers, and also, unfortunately, the head, face, and ears, and really, unfortunately, eyes. So, I would say that fireworks aren't limited to just like the ones that you like shoot off and go up in the air, but I would say that there's definitely other types of fireworks, like sparklers.
Oh, and the highest rate of injuries were teenagers.
Oh.
Could be a little important tidbit to throw in there. From ages 15 to 19.
Why do you think so?
Probably because teenagers are dumb, and they were also all probably boys because girls aren't doing this stuff.
That's why women live longer generally, and married men live longer. Oh, goodness. So, these aren't limited. There's like the nature of a firework is that like you have it at a distance. And if we're thinking of the traditional one where like it's lit and then it goes up in the air and explodes. Yeah, there's a thrill to it. Like you're lighting the fuse and then running away. That's what I think of when I think of firework.
Mm-hmm. Then there's also sparklers. Love a sparkler.
I loved a sparkler. I would love taking two of them and putting them together.
Did you know they burn at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit?
Before today, I didn't know. And
before like 7 minutes ago, we didn't know that.
No,
but it's kind of crazy.
Ridiculously hot. And I think that's it's one of the big takeaways that can lead to a burn. Like if you get this unsuspecting person or a curious toddler or you're just waving around a sparkler and like one thing leads to another. You touch someone with it or someone's unassuming and curious and they touch the top of it and boom, you're touching 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yikes.
Yeah, so there's more to it. It's outside of the explosions that happen to the big rocket that goes up in the sky. The sparklers are right in your hand, and there's like 10 inches between you and 2,000 degrees, and maybe less if you're bringing it closer.
I feel like sparklers are used like year round. People love them at the end of weddings.
God,
whose wedding? Murphy's wedding.
Yep.
They had them.
They had them?
Or New Year's. Yeah, at the end. Don't you remember?
Of course I do. So it looks here that in about 2023, there were
I think it was his wedding. I'm like 97% sure it was at the end of his wedding.
I think so.
Their wedding. It wasn't just Murphy.
Sorry, Adriana. So it looks like there were about 700 emergency department visits related to sparklers in 2023. Can't wait to see what happens in 2024. Wow. And about 800 injuries were related to firecrackers. This portion of our episode
firecrackers
brought to us by healthychildren.org as well. But this clearly is not limited to children at all.
There's also the whole fireworks and wildfire thing where like we don't really live in a part of the country that is susceptible to wildfires. But like, when was that? Like in the recent couple years, people were doing a gender reveal with some sort of firework type thing. And it like started a whole wildfire out in like California. Remember that?
That was a huge deal. I mean, because of Gina and Chase, we think about California a little bit more before they moved, but that's a huge topic of conversation out there. It's life-changing for all of them. So then, but in New Jersey, up until maybe, now I have no idea. It seemed like not too long ago, but in recent memory, they were illegal. Like for direct-to-consumer fireworks, they were illegal. So
that's why you have to go to like Delaware.
Yeah, people would just go over to the tax-free, sales tax-free state, and then
didn't hear that from us though.
No, and they would just go to get them in Delaware. So that's all. Yeah, fireworks. It's probably better to enjoy them from afar.
Yeah,
or just be careful the best you can.
Yeah, moral of the story is be careful. Everyone's going to be playing with fireworks on the 4th of July.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Yeah, but in one moment, your life can change. So.
Just don't be dumb.
Yeah.
People have the right to make poor decisions.
And for the adults listening, I mean, so clearly, mixing alcohol and fireworks, while I imagine some people may find enticing, but wildly.
Maybe don't.
Just
do
don't.
That. Probably not.
Just probably don't.
Stay inside with the dog. His name is Jones and he's a pie.
So now that we've kind of warmed up about fireworks, I think the next best thing to discuss in our episode are skin burns. And specifically what we're going to cover are thermal burns. So burns associated with the heat. There are other burns, electrical burns, chemical burns. We won't be talking about them. But they're very common. They happen from a bunch of different things like hot water, steam, hot objects, flames. Sunburn is a burn. But a lot of burns are minor, but some are not. And before we dive in at all, describing the different types of burns, it's most important to talk about when you should go get help. And by that, I mean probably going right to the emergency room because they are most equipped to deal with these along with other burn specialists. But so we got our list here. What sorts of things or signs or symptoms should someone look for if they are going to look at their burn and say, this is something I should reach out for help?
Okay. So to kind of like tease out when you actually need help for a burn, first, if it's on your face, hands, or fingers, feet, or your genitals. If a burn is near a joint, so like our hips, shoulders, knees. If the burn encircles the body part, like your arm, your leg, chest. If it, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I looked that up and I was like, why is that significant? The other ones seemed self-explanatory, but apparently a burn that's circumferential actually compromises the circulation in the body. And that's why that one's important. Is there anything to think about with the size?
Size-wise, they say if it's greater than the size of an orange, you should go seek help. Age, if whoever has the burn is less than 5 or older than 70. And then if you burn yourself and then there are any signs of an infection thereafter. So if there's increasing redness around it, pain, any kind of discharge, or if you have a temperature of 100.4 or higher, that's Fahrenheit, or 38 degrees Celsius.
Because we have international listeners.
We sure do.
And so when
Wait, do you think, like, if Karthik is being a good friend and listening to this while he's in Japan, it'll register as a Japanese listener?
Maybe. We'll have to ask him to tune in and see. So
no, this is going to be a test of friendship.
That's actually what this will be. So.
Oh, and Chris is there too, right?
He is, yeah.
All right. We better have 2 Japanese listeners at the end of this week.
And so when we say reach out for help, I generally would say from my stance, that means going to the emergency room or a burn specialist when it comes to serious burns with signs and symptoms like these that we just described. And all in all, I think now that we've considered those, we can go ahead and say that there are generally 3 different classifications of burns to use in commonplace. To give them names, they are 1st degree, 2nd degree. There's our intern. He made an appearance. There we go.
Ollie, what are you doing? Come here.
He protects us from the street. So,
the streets of Philadelphia.
There are 3 different types of burns. There are 1st degree burns, which are very superficial. There are 2nd degree burns, which have a partial thickness to them and involving the top 2 layers of the skin, and a 3rd degree burn, which involves much more than skin, involving even bone or fat underneath, and are much, much more serious. Generally, if a burn is 2nd degree or higher, you should probably reach out for help. So like we were talking about, a 1st degree burn really just involves the top layer of skin. It's painful, it's dry, and it can be red. And if you press on it, it gets white, and then it comes back to its reddish color. They usually don't form blisters, and generally they heal in about 3 to 6 days, and they don't scar typically. So what about a 2nd degree burn? Can you tell us a little bit more about what that might look like?
Yeah, I can speak to this because I'm also a survivor of a 2nd degree burn.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wait. Is this the coffee bean?
Yeah, from when I was seasoning the cast iron. I was looking at it in the shower, actually, because I think when I'm getting tanner, it's getting a little more dark. A 2nd degree burn. God, everything has to be so dramatic. All right. Anyway, so 1st degree is just like that top layer. 2nd degree are the top 2 layers of the skin. They usually form a blister and can be more painful. The blisters may become like fluid filled, and then your burn might start oozing. And these take longer. They can take about 1 to 3 weeks to heal. And then that area that you burned can become like either scarred or just permanently darker. But it does heal.
Right, but it heals.
And then 3rd degree, it goes down to all layers of the skin. This says completely destroying the skin.
That's a little dramatic, but true.
But 3rd degree burns won't hurt. That's a fun little fact.
Right. Oh, right. That I remember rotating in peds, and they were like, "Does that hurt?" And if it didn't, that was more concerning. Yeah. To get someone into the burn clinic.
The 3rd degree burns can be all kinds of colors, whereas the 1st and 2nd degree may be a little pink, may be a little red. 3rd degree burns can be a really deep red to kind of whitish, grayish, or depending on how bad, like charred black, depending on what you did. Maybe you played with too many fireworks.
Yeah, those are gnarly.
And then the 3rd degree, like it won't do that blanching, which is when the skin, like you'll press on it and it won't turn white and then red again. Yeah. It just stays red.
Fun fact, not all hospitals actually have burn centers either. So if you're going to go reach out for help, there probably is some good thought to looking up the hospital you're going to go to and see if they handle burn patients, because it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, 3rd degree ones are like
it like takes a specialist, like plastics.
Yeah, you need like a surgical intervention to heal it. It doesn't just get better.
Yeah, and there's different medicine behind it too. When you're getting that acute management, like there's more to do with fluids. There's just a lot more to it that definitely needs to be evaluated by a specialist. But say that something like it's a 1st degree or a pretty okay 2nd degree burn that you're going to try to treat at home. We're going to cover a couple things that are pretty common knowledge about do's and don'ts of treating a 1st degree burn at home. So,
and this is a 1st degree burn from heat, not an electrical burn or a chemical burn.
Correct.
What you can do.
Yep. So the first thing to do is to cool the area. Cooling the area stops the burning process immediately. And specifically, you should avoid putting ice on the burn.
Why do we want to avoid ice?
We want to avoid ice because it can damage the skin further. So coolness, but avoiding ice.
Cold.
But not cold. And you should avoid soaking the burn for longer than 15 minutes. The next thing to do is to clean the area. And one key piece here is if it's a simple 1st degree burn, you can remove any clothing from the burned area. But big thing here, if clothing is stuck, do not remove the clothing. Right. You can just imagine how that would go. And I imagine this recommendation comes from the idea you remove the clothing and the skin comes along with it, and that is just a disaster. So keep it clean, and you don't need to go nuts and do anything special. You really can just use cool water and plain soap. It doesn't even need to be antibacterial soap, but please avoid alcohol, iodine, or other cleansers. They're irritating and painful, and they're not doing more good. You're probably just hurting it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. So there are ways to prevent infection of either a 1st or 2nd degree burn. A 1st degree burn really only requires you might want to apply like a thin layer of aloe or lotion just to kind of keep it moisturized, because when it gets dry, it will get itchy. And same with the 2nd degree burn, but you can put just a little bit of like bacitracin or an antibiotic ointment over it, and then put a dressing over it. Also kind of just, like depending on where it is, if it's kind of in a spot where maybe it's on your leg and your pants would rub on it or something like that and be irritating to it, you can do that.
Right. And if you're going to apply a dressing and say that it's not bigger than an orange, because then you're going to reach out for help, but it's above the size of a Band-Aid, you can put on a non-stick dressing pad, which is different from gauze.
Yeah, make sure it's the non-stick one, because then the gauze will stick to the burn.
Right.
And then Ugh.
Right. So you put that non-stick one on first, then you can put a woven gauze or just gauze on top, and then gently wrap it with an ace bandage. And that's another way to dress a burn wound. But at that point, you're starting...
Or you can like tape it.
Or tape it, yeah. You're starting to teeter-totter on needing to get some extra help or have someone take a look at it. So just keep an eye on that. And I love that you said the aloe or the lotion, because there are several other things that people do.
Oh my God.
That you just don't need to do for burns.
Yeah, like yogurt and
Who's
mustard.
putting yogurt on their wounds?
I don't know.
All right.
Groceries are expensive and you're going to waste them like rubbing them on your body.
Yeah, speaking of groceries, I'm seeing here...
They make stuff to put on your body. Use that.
People write this stuff down because I guess it's happened before. People putting mustard, egg whites, mayonnaise, butter, lavender oil, emu oil.
Butter's expensive.
Emu oil. Toothpaste to skin burns. You don't need to do it. You shouldn't do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
If it's something you eat, don't put it on your body. Stop doing that stuff.
God. Though you can keep burns clean by washing the area daily with soap. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
because we're not eating soap.
And it doesn't need to be antibacterial. At that point, when you're kind of keeping up with it to keep it clean, you can use lukewarm water. You also can clean your burn wound in the shower, it seems. Another piece here is that if you haven't had your tetanus shot in the last 5 years, it's a good time to start thinking about it. If it's a 2nd or 3rd degree burn, you may need a tetanus booster vaccine. We briefly covered this in one of our other pediatric episodes, but tetanus is something you do not want to get. You can look up pictures. And so get your tetanus vaccine if you either don't remember it, don't have your records, or you're like, oh, actually, last year I got my tetanus shot. You're good. Something I thought was interesting is that burns can be painful.
That's interesting to you?
Well, that you can treat them with usual things that people may not think of that they can treat with their burn wounds. Like we've mentioned it a bunch of other times on our musculoskeletal episodes for calf pain or plantar fasciitis. But looks like you can actually treat with acetaminophen, otherwise known as Tylenol, or ibuprofen, otherwise known as Advil and Motrin, if it's safe for you and you've talked to your doctor about using those.
Yeah.
So that's
Eddie's not your doctor.
Right, I'm not your doctor. Or you can keep your arm elevated or your leg or whatever part of your body is vulnerable from the burn, because some of the blood flow will actually kind of make it painful. But you shouldn't use topical anesthetics like lidocaine on the burn wounds for a lot of reasons. So just don't use those. The other thing, you mentioned infection, and preventing that is to not pop blisters, because that increases the risk of infection. So just let those run their course. Okay. I think that's about it. So it sounds like at any moment when there's doubt and you don't exactly know what to do with a burn, you should get help. You should just reach out for help and ask. And it's common this time of year. There's a lot of things going on. Any final thoughts?
I don't think so.
Okay. And make sure you subscribe. And thank you for coming back to another episode of Your Checkup.
You're welcome.
And make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really do appreciate it. And we've actually had some people reaching out, hoping for episodes about shoulder pain and going over healthcare plans. Thank you, Lydia and James, who asked for those. And we appreciate any feedback that you have from us, putting it in our messages, Instagram DMs, either messaging us personally or through the Instagram. We really love to interact with you guys. And soon enough, in our episode description, you'll be able to send us a text that protects your phone number to our separate account at our podcast host. So we look forward to using that functionality. And make sure you follow our Instagram, Your Checkup Podcast, and visit our website eventually when it goes up. And most importantly, stay healthy, my friends, and avoid fireworks and burns. Until next time, I'm Ed Delesky.
I'm Nicole Aruffo.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
This information may provide a brief overview of diagnosis, treatment, and medications. It's not exhaustive and is a tool to help you understand potential options about your health. It doesn't cover all details about conditions, treatments, or medications for a specific person. This is not medical advice or an attempt to substitute medical advice. You should contact a healthcare provider for personalized guidance based on your unique circumstances. We explicitly disclaim any liability relating to the information given or its use. This content doesn't endorse any treatments or medications for a specific patient. Always talk to your healthcare provider for a complete information tailored to you. In short, I'm not your doctor.
I am not your nurse.
And make sure you go get your own checkup with your own personal doctor.